Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. Leave It to Beaver is an iconic American television situation comedy about an American family of the 1950s and early 60s. The show stars Barbara Billingsley, Hugh Beaumont, Tony Dow, and Jerry Mathers as the Beaver. CBS first broadcast the show October 4th, 1957, but dropped it after one season. ABC picked it up and ran it for another 5 years. Its initial airing in October of 1957 was the same night that the Russian satellite Sputnik was launched and put fear into all Americans as it beeped incessantly as it went over the United States. The show was not terribly popular in the Nielsen ratings. It had trouble getting into the top 30 during its 6-season run, but it proved super popular in reruns, and that's how most people remember it. The show is built around young Theodore Beaver Cleaver, played by Jerry Mathers, and the trouble that he gets into while navigating his life. Supposedly, when he was a baby, his older brother Wallace mispronounced Theodore, and it led to his name being called Beaver. But the real story of the origins of the name is that one of the show's writers, Joe Conley, had a shipmate that was named Beaver in World War II. Beaver's friends include the perpetually apple-munching Larry Mondello, played by Rusty Stevens. He's only in the first 3 seasons, but he's a real highlight of the show. Then there's Gilbert Bates, played by Stephen Talbot, as well as the old fireman Gus, played by Burt Mustin. He has these sweet-natured but no-nonsense elementary school teachers, the first being Miss Canfield, played by Diane Brewster. And then the one that is remembered the most is Miss Landers, played by Sue Randall. The school principal is Miss Rayburn, played by Doris Packer, a face and a name that you might remember from the Andy Griffith Show. During Beaver's time in school, his arch nemesis that's in his class is Judy Hensler, played by Jerry Weil. Beaver's brother, Wally, played by Tony Dow, is really popular. He's a smart, athletic young lad. He letters in 3 sports, but he always has difficulty with his girlfriends. Among them are Mary Ellen Rogers and Julie Foster. His pals include the awkward Clarence Lumpy Rutherford, played by Frank Bank, and we'll get back to him in just a bit. And then there's always the smart aleck Eddie Haskell, played by Ken Osmond. He always plays the two-faced guy who's a braggart among his peers, and he's a yes man to all the adults that he mocks behind their backs. He's also notorious for picking on Beaver. The fictional town of Mayfield is the setting for the family story. It's said that when Jerry Mathers got the role as Beaver, he wore his Cub Scout uniform to the audition, and he actually told the casting directors that he was anxious to leave because he had to go to his den meeting. The producers were completely charmed with his innocent candor, and they cast him immediately for the role. Hugh Beaumont held a Master's of Theology degree from the University of California and was an ordained minister. In addition to his role as Ward Cleaver, he also did a lot of writing and directing for the series. He ended up directing 23 episodes. Tony Dow had never acted before he got the role, and he had no aspirations of becoming an actor when he was cast in it. Dow had accompanied a friend to his audition, and he auditioned on a whim and ended up getting the part. A part which I feel makes the entire show. If you took Tony Dow out of this role, this show would just not be what it is today. His cool demeanor, his unknowing wit, and he plays off Beaver so well by interpreting to his parents why Beaver does the crazy things that he does. Jerry Weil, who portrayed Judy Hensler, was written out of the show when puberty quickly set in, and she refused to go along with the wardrobe department's measures to cover it up. When she and the show parted company, she parted with acting too, and became a successful real estate agent. It's said that over the years, she would occasionally reconnect with Jerry Mathers and Tony Dow. The show's situations were based on the experiences of the writer's children. Joe Connolly based Beaver and Wally on his own sons, while Eddie and Larry were based on friends. He would often carry a notebook and record conversations that he heard his kids having. One of my favorite characters is Larry Mondello, and during the scenes, you often hear his sister talked about, but she's never shown. His father is shown in one episode when all the kids gather backstage after the school play. Most of the time, his father is in Cincinnati, as his mother often complains that she doesn't have a man in the house. The house on the Universal backlot that was used for the exterior shots of the Cleavers' home was later used for the exterior shots of Marcus Welby's house in Marcus Welby, M.D. Coincidentally, one of Hugh Beaumont's last acting appearances, just 1 year before his retirement, was a guest starring role on Marcus Welby in 1970. Among the reasons that the show came to an end was simply that Jerry Mathers and Tony Dow were growing older. Mathers was already a teenager. In the final seasons of Beaver, the show centered on a young boy and his relationships and innocent misadventures, and not the trials and tribulations of teenagers. So the production almost had to end. Now, Frank Bank plays Lumpy Rutherford, and he's a big doofus that his dad thinks can do no wrong. He's not very good at anything he does, whether it be schoolwork or the ladies. But I guess Lumpy had the last laugh. You see, after he left the show, he became a bond broker in Los Angeles. And according to a book he had written called Call Me Lumpy, My Leave It to Beaver Days, and Other Wild Hollywood Life, he was quite the ladies' man. This is pretty unexpected because we view him as he was on the show. He states that his popularity was the start of the sexual revolution. He participated fully in it. Free love was in full bloom, and he was a bloomin' man. So if you thought Lumpy Rutherford was a muddly, dumpy, awkward character, you might be right on the show. But it's funny how things are different than we think. Take a look at this classic. It's always a fun watch. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.